There was a period of about 20 years of my life, from about 1996 into these last decades, where the subject of me and off-road vehicle or driving commercials was kind of like this. After 20 years of watching these commercials, these Land Rovers and Land Cruisers and Jeeps and Ford and Chevy pickups crawling over huge boulders, revealing the suspension inside the tire wells, in a kind of a bragging sort of way, I would think to myself, yeah, I've done that. I lived that for 8 years of all these 4x4 vehicles, and I'm kind of done with that. Give me my Honda Accord and the beautiful American highways, smooth traveling. And of course, recently, in last years, I've purchased a Jeep. But kind of like felt like I was finished with the off-road experience. Taking that analogy to faith, I was also happy to return to the American church, where kind of in a similar way, I thought of it as presumably not an off-road faith journey. Smooth pavement is here to be found in the American church, or so I thought. I want to share just some experiences in life that have been kind of learning experiences on this journey of getting off-road. As a young man, age 20, my wife and I, recently married, traveled to Germany to take our last year of university in Germany. And that was really the first experience to kind of go a little bit off of the standard traveling journey as American young people. One of the learnings of life in that place was to begin to hear about us as Americans from a perspective quite different than we had heard before. It was most often very positive, but it kind of summed up in this joke that some friends of ours in Germany shared with us. It's a joke I've since heard in subsequent years, but I loved listening to it with German and French and English mixed in. So this is the joke. Upon the discovery of the elephant, here are some reactions observed from different nationalities. The French. Upon discovery of the elephant, 3 books were written. La vie amoureuse de l'éléphant, or The Love Life of the Elephant, or La cuisine des éléphants, 1,000 ways to cook elephant. And finally, a small philosophical treatise, Is Elephant Possible? The English, upon discovery of the elephant, wrote 1 book, Elephants and Elephant Hunting. And so the Americans, they, upon discovery of the elephant, they wrote a book, Making Bigger and Better Elephants. And the Germans, upon the discovery of the elephant, published a 10-volume study including the evolution, anatomy, taxonomy, elephant behavior, reproduction, environment of the elephant. Ein ganz wissenschaftlicher Kompendium. Even a reaction from Iceland. Another book, Defrosting for Dummies. The use of hot mineral springs to defrost large mammals, including elephants. Well, of course, these are casual beliefs, quick and dirty, sort of ascertained facts, glimpses, low cost and low risk beliefs, and playful. Casting roles, so to speak, or types for different groups of people, but certainly in a playful sort of way. To use an analogy of puzzles, we're all a puzzle to one another, but boy, if I can get those corner pieces and all of the straight edge pieces and I can make a frame, then I think that I know something about this portrait, this picture. Maybe I speak too soon, for perhaps I venture sometimes to say even grand pronouncements about things that I don't fully know. Well, that joke, that image of a puzzle, came to my mind when I read this reading for today. Jesus and his disciples, 3 of them chosen, Peter, James, and John, let's climb this mountain. And I kind of looked at it as the discovery of Jesus and those telling reactions. Not completely known to us in the scope of what I read, but maybe kind of as we journey along with the gospel and then the letters in the New Testament and all that we know of Peter, James, and John, kind of thinking of them in somewhat like the discovery. Upon the discovery of Jesus, here are some various reactions. The story of the disciples, 3 of them, being chosen by Jesus to walk up a mountain. The scripture passage that we read is called the Transfiguration of Jesus, and it's an opportunity that Jesus really is proactive, intentional about. It's been a week since he shared with them something that has been very, very hard for his followers to grasp, to accept, to internalize, to understand that following Jesus includes difficult parts of the journey. And so it's a good metaphor, that traveling up the mountain, as they're thinking things that they know about Jesus, and as Jesus is thinking to himself, and I'm surmising, things that he would like them to know about Jesus, about the messianic journey, about the purposes of God. Who is Jesus? What is this Jesus phenomenon? What is God doing in and through Jesus? And for each disciple, I'm sure, what do I get out of this? What's in it for me? And how do I fit in? Do I perhaps need to rethink Jesus? So we know that Jesus, a leader, but Jesus who's called to prepare leaders, to prepare his followers, you and I, for leadership. We know that leaders are oftentimes viewed as visionary, as focused. They know how to motivate and rally us, like Morpheus in the Matrix films, if you've seen any of those. Tonight, let us make them remember. This is Zion, and we are not afraid. That was leadership. Unshakable conviction. And here, in this good old United States, we celebrate certainty. And we actually look down on those who express doubt, or caution, or even hesitation. So examining in this passage, and I'm looking at this sweep of the gospel, this hinge place that we're at in Matthew, Mark, Luke, where we are beginning now as we come down the mountain to head in this journey towards Jerusalem. Examining perhaps what the disciples never imagined, never saw coming, the consequences. And this passage helps us also to see the beauty, the mystery, indeed, how as the cloud descends, something certain does appear. Even as some of their sensory faculties are taken away, they hear a voice. And the voice says, listen to him. I believe that our beliefs are critical, but so are our values. And they're not exactly the same. Some of the beliefs of Jesus' followers, all the way through the first half of those Gospels, are needing to be rethought or relearned, taught by Jesus. A belief is something that you take as true. A value is something that you think is important. And I want to be that kind of follower. And I want to surround myself with the kinds of followers that are open about beliefs, who say, well, I want to learn from the best evidence about how we go forward. But also those who are committed to and have convictions around a set of values. And here's where I say, think of Jesus. Think of what the disciples have learned thus far. When you think of Jesus, and then you hear these value words, respect, humanity, family, freedom, courage, change, integrity, joy. The disciples had their beliefs, but they had a foundation already being established of the values, the core values that came from God through Jesus, and God's very strong affirmation or reinforcement, listen to him. I want to share space with people, with others who are listening. So think again, the power of knowing what you don't fully know. It's okay. Jesus tapped on Peter, James, and John's heads or shoulders and said, let's go up the mountain. There's things that you do not fully know. I'm interested in us beginning to shed characteristics of obstinacy. And why do most of us find it so difficult to question our own beliefs and challenges to our own views? And don't tell me that those disciples didn't have some pretty hard set views about what Messiah would look like, act like, and what would be the outcome of the Messiah journey. And when Peter starts to say a little bit about that, Jesus says, get behind me. Well, I want to try to wrap up. There's a lot here in this passage. I believe that we're traveling a road, and I thought the road was going to be smoothed. And on this road, we see entrenched beliefs, things people take as true. But Jesus, take me up the mountain with you, and let it be quite a climb. Let the cloud of unknowing, let it descend upon us. And let the voice of God, let me hear it again and again. Listen to him. As a loved movie had it many years ago, roads where we're going We don't need roads.